With 15 vehicles on the road, we're solving thousands of ventilation issues on a monthly basis. When you're in a partnership with somebody, it's like sometimes jumping off a cliff with your hands tied behind your back or trying to swim with your hands tied behind your back. I firmly believe if you deliver a valued service, the money comes as a result. And listen, we need money to run a business, don't get me wrong. But if you're concentrating on it all the time, it's not a great strategy to have. If you have a negative mindset running a business, everyone in the business will run with a negative mindset. I firmly believe that if you invest in your people, understand what their wants and needs and requirements are, and focus on helping them achieve that, I think it's linked to a successful workforce. And the best thing that people can say to me now is, Hugh,
off you go.
Theo.
What about you? Have you ever thought about buying into a business and taking it over? In today's episode, we'll be talking to Hugh from Condensation Solutions, and he did just that. Now, before we get into the podcast, let me tell you about the sponsor. The channel is sponsored by Jobber. Jobber is my go-to software for all my scheduling, my invoicing, my quoting. If you're a really busy business owner and you don't have time for anything, well then I suggest that you have a look at Jobber. Now, there is a unique discount code down in the video description.
To get the special Premier Loans discount, it's premierloans.link/Jobber. Hugh, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. I am Hugh McCulloch. I am the Managing Director of Condensation Solutions. We run a ventilation business, so we would go into houses to solve problems whenever people have like black mold appearing in corners of rooms and condensation forming in windows. We go in, we would conduct a survey, then we would specify high quality products and we would install them the way they should be installed to help those people alleviate those issues. That's one part of our market. The other part of our market is putting in a system into like a new build house so that they don't then have condensation and mold issues, and giving them a more energy efficient solution as far as ventilation is concerned.
To give the audience a bit of background, what size is your business at the minute?
The business has grown dramatically, I suppose, over the 10 years, I suppose. In the last year it's grown, in the last 2 years it's grown. So we have 21 staff members, I do believe now at this point, with 15 vehicles on the road. We're solving thousands of ventilation issues on a monthly basis. So it's grown to quite a substantial level now at this point.
Over the last 10 years, how has your business evolved?
Okay, so 10 years ago when I came into the business, or 11 years ago, whatever it may be, we were very much like just selling products to suit the need. So people had condensation issues, we were very much just selling them the products that they needed, yes, but we weren't going into the detail of whether the house had other conditions. We weren't looking at installing it on a massive basis. And that's just because when I came in, my old business partner, Paddy Gallagher, had evolved the business just by basically selling solutions, box selling, I suppose you could say. So we have evolved in that time that we now have like 9 to 10 ventilation engineers on the road every single day. Our surveyors, and I suppose what makes us unique as a ventilation business is our surveyors would go out to a reported fault of condensation and mold. They can do different levels of a survey, so they can do a basic general call in mold, identify that it is mold, rule out everything else. If it is something else, we'll signpost the others, work in conjunction with some great companies on other signposting means. We'll identify what it is, give them a solution. Then we can take that survey up a notch. We can do like thermal images of areas. We will test extract fans. We'll test the humidity that's prevalent in the atmosphere in the house. We'll do reports for people selling houses. If a structural engineer goes in and says that they have mold issues, but then we'll do a report to help the sale go through. So it's on a sort of legal basis and stuff. So it's different levels of surveys just to make sure that the problem is related to the products that we provide.
And a complete package.
Complete solution then. It cuts down on the time that the customers, so if you have condensation and mold issues, where are you going to go? It's not apparent, unfortunately, just at the minute where you would go with that. So you'll speak to a builder down the road, or you'll speak to a plumber or window cleaner up the street, know somebody that does it, whatever the case is. And then they'll just give their opinion, which isn't really qualified advice in it. The same with lawn treatments or something. If you ask a gardener there, he's only giving you what he thinks he knows. It mightn't necessarily be the way to do it. Very, very much in ventilation we're similar. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know, I suppose, why these things are happening first and foremost, and then you need to know what product is best suited, and then it needs to be installed properly. So thankfully, we have built our business around those principles. We have fantastic, and one of our values of our business is building close personal relationships. So not only with our customers, with our internal staff members. Staff is the most valuable asset of any business.
100%.
Definitely our
100%.
business. But also the manufacturers. So we have several different manufacturers. Envirovent and Harrogate would be one of our main manufacturer trusted partners. Brink in Holland would be another, and then we have a couple of different suppliers of products just to facilitate what we need to do.
I'd imagine that whenever a business of your size, you'd need to have a really good supply chain there to keep everything flowing.
Absolutely, it makes all the difference. I personally have gone and stood on the production line in the Envirovent factory and made up the fans and made up the PIV units that we do, positive input ventilation systems. So it gives me an understanding of exactly what components go into it. So it makes us as a business understand better if a customer has an issue or a problem.
Something goes wrong.
And again, take that back to like somebody going online maybe, because the online market is buoyant. There are ventilation companies here in Northern Ireland that are very successful online sellers.
How do you find competing against them?
Well, that's the thing, the trusted partnership that we have. So God forbid if you buy something online, is it warranted? Is it guaranteed? Is it a legitimate source? Environment have a big problem with like theft, and that theft then going out onto eBay and stuff. And they're very regimented on their serial numbers and stuff off the back of it. But when you buy it with us, you have the full warranty, the full guarantee. But also if you have a reported problem, we can solve that problem or have.
And I suppose the other thing, like you say, if somebody goes to sell their house afterwards, then it's all documented there for them. Whereas if you buy online, then you don't have that level of
Absolutely. I could phone in the main people in the environment. No, if I had an issue. We did a test call yesterday in the office, actually into the environment technical help desk.
Yeah.
And they answered the question immediately, which was fantastic service. But if I hadn't got the answer, I could have went straight into the direct point of contact and the technical manager. So to have those relationships built up that you can solve these issues, it just means you're more efficient as a business. It's something we highly value, is those trusted partnerships.
What attracted you to this business, to buy into this business?
Okay, so I was working for a company, I suppose. It's a bit of a long-winded story, but I was working for a company who sold vacuum systems, the built-in vacuum systems that plug into the wall in mostly newly built houses. Then with the downturn in the market back in like 2008, 2007, 2008.
Nobody was buying anything like that.
Absolutely, it went, and it was the first thing that went off the budget. But they were very forward thinking, and a fantastic company even to this day. They were very forward thinking that they then progressed into ventilation. So they sent us as sales reps at that stage out to investigate the marketplace as far as ventilation was concerned. So you were finding out then when you spoke to builders, like I would have gone to somebody and they would have said, I spent £3,000 on the ventilation system back then, £3,000, £4,000, whatever the case is. And you looked up into the attic and it was just like a sequence of flexible duct all just bucked up in, and whatever way it landed, that's what way it was fitted. So you tried to pull more information out to ask who was it supplied it, or who was it fitted it, what system are you going for? And the customers didn't know. They were making investments into their houses at that sort of value, and they didn't know anything about it, how to service it going forward. They didn't know the history of any of it. The guys I was working for at the stage progressed into ventilation. And just I had ran my time with them, I suppose, and childhood, one of my best friends as a child, it turned out his brother was running Condensation Solutions. One of the suppliers in Envirovent were supplying him, he was the main supplier into Northern Ireland, of a product that we were also selling within that old business that I worked for. There was a wee bit of a connection, both on a personal level but also on a professional level. So started talking then and developed a bit of a relationship then. The manufacturer were putting pressure on him to do something. So my old business partner Paddy was in the fire service and he was being promoted.
it never fails to amaze me the amount of people in the fire service that run a second business.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I suppose it really it gives you a lot of flexibility and freedom for it. But yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And when at the earlier stages, when he was like 3 days on and 4 days off, it suited him to run the business. But as he became more and more, I suppose, of an influencer in the fire service and developed his own career within it, then he had less and less time. The manufacturer environment at that stage were wanting to promote their business as much as possible in Northern Ireland. So they were putting a bit of pressure onto him to act and do something upon it. Listen, at that stage, it was just the perfect sort of chance for me to go in to run my own business. When I say a perfect chance, some of the challenges I had, I was building my own house, setting out on a life on my own, a bit of security. I had a full-time job paying a constant salary.
there's a lot of convenience in having someone else pay your own salary.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Did you have any other experience running a business before you jumped in?
Not really. Just like I've always been an enterprising person, always just trying to push on and do what I've done. I always had great ideas, but never had the confidence, I suppose.
We talk about mindset a lot on the channel.
Absolutely. Big part of my agenda in my life in general. But what's a better word for balls, I suppose? Courage, bravery. I didn't have it. I had all sorts of ideas.
It takes a lot of the time for the leap of faith.
Absolutely, most definitely, and it's only by personal development that you can develop that yourself as well.
I wanted to work for myself for years and never really had the chance, and then through redundancy, then I stepped over the line and stepped full time into a business. I made the switch. So where did you get the funds to buy into I assume you bought in as a director whenever you moved in?
At that stage, I didn't buy in. At that stage, I came in as... Well, he actually wanted me to come in as a self-employed sales rep, obviously for...
Good for him.
Absolutely. And listen, why would he not? He's trying to think strategically himself. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't take the risk unless it was something that was going to be possibly life-changing, I suppose. My wife at the time, she wouldn't have probably let me anyway, so I forced the issue and I was coming in as an equal director. So my buy-in was your time basically.
Your time and your expertise.
To evolve the business to what it is. And then also he wasn't working on the business. I just had to have a frustrating phone call at 5:30 every evening.
Was he more working in the business than on the business? Would that be?
Well, yes, he was supposed to. He was supposed to be. Listen, it suited both parties at the time, and we forged a way forward and started to progress it a little bit. We are where we are today as a result of it, thankfully.
And what size, many sort of employees did you have back then whenever you came in?
Zero.
You were the first one.
So in the infancy, it was just me. And then a year or two later, like I remember going with Paddy and I to buy a car just to go out on the road, just to get front facing with customers. And I can't remember, maybe it was £6,000 or something for the car back then. But I remember that was nearly a life-changing decision, and even to get him to make that decision, he was very cautious on it. It was like flipping hitting him with a crowbar, pulling the wall like a crowbar, and we were funding it like it was a loan. With him having the history, it was obviously a loan in his name more so than mine, so I suppose a fair bit of the risk
it's on him,
carried with him. Taking today's market, we're buying vans. We've just renewed the fleet of vans there, and you're buying vans at 30 and 40 grand without even giving it the second minute's thought.
On that note, do you buy or lease? And what's your thinking behind?
So I try to buy. I suppose it's the old Irish way of thinking you're better off buying it, but there is a bit of...
Have you ever considered leasing? Have you ever done leasing before? Or
so the accountant advised me to go for cash flow purposes, go like HP on some vans. So I have a little bit of a mixture on fully funded vans and then some of the hire purchase agreements then.
I'd imagine your game is very similar to my game. For lawn care and gardening, the vans might take a bit of abuse and it doesn't really suit leasing.
Yeah, very, very, very much. You're putting people into vans, and as I say, we have 10 and upwards of fitters there now at the minute. You're trusting them to get into their van and look after it. And like, I have had challenges. Everyone's different. Some of the vans are immaculate. Some of the vans you get into and you find all sorts of things lying all over it. And you can tell people just generally aren't taking care of their
employees. Employees generally don't take it. It's not bad.
Thanks.
Jason's not bad, but employees generally don't take it good care. Now, so if you have 10 vans on the road, how do you manage your scheduling and your routing and all that fun stuff?
With great difficulty sometimes, to be perfectly honest. Just employed a very good guy, Irvine Boyd, who's just come into the business with a wealth of experience in OpenReach on the scheduling role. So we're developing that at the minute. But we'll have somebody specifically looking after the scheduling. And then very closely linked then would be the debriefing of jobs. So the following morning or that evening on an urgent basis, possibly, you identify maybe something wasn't done or something additional needed carried out, and maybe you didn't have the materials or the time to do it, or you couldn't get into the address, which happens fair and often in the social housing marketplace in particular for some reason. So the debrief then the following day is a very, very important role to help the schedule then, and it's just somebody getting in and knowing what they're doing and really focusing on it, I find helps the efficiency and the effectiveness of the role.
Yeah. And what software do you use to manage that?
We use a software system called SimPro currently. They are, well, we went out and spoke to a couple of different people at the time. One of the ideas I had at that time was even to try and develop our own software. SimPro, to be honest, has become quite expensive. Some challenges within it, like on the accounting side, it wouldn't be fantastic. But we were able to see exactly what items sitting in stock at any given time through the mobile app, where they can allocate that stock to their job.
You would know,
would
it go as far as to know which bit of stock was in the van?
Absolutely. So what we do is we set up different warehouses as per your registration. And then as somebody takes out, again, this is only as good as it's managed. But the idea would be like if you had 10 extract fans in the main warehouse, you would transfer them over into one of the registrations of one of the vehicles, so you'd know at any given time exactly what that engineer has sitting in his vehicle, I suppose. But again, it's only as good as how good it is in
the point of contact
flowing within it.
Yeah.
And we've two stores as well. We've the main store, and then we've a store in Temple, just outside Belfast, that makes us a wee bit more accessible. So if somebody needs a length of pipe,
so you guys are in Castlewellan, is that right?
We're based in Castlewellan, yes, Burnray Road, Castlewellan. Lovely part of the country, but not just the centre of the universe. It is for Castlewellan people. and
it's a bit like where I grew up.
And Kilcoo people, where my little village is from. It's just not accessible for somebody working on the far side of Belfast or further afield. So
I can see having your own store in Belfast.
Yeah, so Temple brings us a wee bit closer. It's only 5 minutes, 10 minutes out the road, really. And we're just trying to develop that now at the minute. But the idea will be to have like workshops on ventilation, because we want to raise the ventilation industry to where it should be. We just don't want to sit and offer a service. We want to bring the ventilation industry up as high as it can go.
But the sounds of it, you are actually offering a really good service, probably miles above most of the other people within the industry in Northern Ireland.
Absolutely, miles. I remember speaking to one of the guys in one of the housing associations, one of the main purchasers in one of the housing associations we deal with, and he told me in the meeting that he searched the length of breadth of Ireland and he couldn't find a company that is so defined as we are in the ventilation marketplace, that we do exactly what we do. Because you have some of the ventilation suppliers or companies here that just go out, they don't sell the lower priced products because they want to make as much money and get the big hit on it. Our driver is never making money. I firmly believe if you deliver a valued service, the money comes as a result. And listen, we need money to run a business, don't get me wrong. But if you're concentrating on it all the time, it's not a great strategy to have, and it doesn't pay and it doesn't serve you, I find. Anyway.
Yeah, in the long run as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if a customer gets the best value, then
absolutely
that speaks volumes.
And that goes for like some of the employees that we've had in. We were very lucky in the early days that we didn't have any sort of staff turnover. Our staff turnover was extremely low. But as we grow as a business, and I suppose speaking to other business owners, that this is what they say, that staff does become more of an issue in retention.
What measures have you put in place to keep your staff happy as your team is scaled and growing?
Again, goes back to closely linked to the personal development stuff. Find out what their thinking on things is, find out what their goals and strategies are. I firmly believe if you help people thrive within their own personal life and their own contentment, because as much as a job takes up a fair bit of your life, it's only part of your life to facilitate your actual personal life, your family, or your outside hobbies. I firmly believe that if you invest in your people, understand what their wants and needs and requirements are, and focus on helping them achieve that, I think it's linked to a successful workforce, but also making things as clear as possible and identifying what role they are coming in to do and making it absolutely crystal clear and giving them every resource to have to facilitate that role.
Do you have any software to manage that? I recently talked to another company, and he scaled his business quite quickly, and he uses software and he records everything, so he doesn't need to be there for the. He has a video of everything.
Yeah, so
And
he basically records himself doing the task, and then that's on
Air manual.
Air manual maybe,
Air manual.
and then he can push that out to anybody. So anybody coming in, it's basically the standard operation procedures for how to do that specific job. We'll show it them, and then it's something for them to go back to. And if they have any questions, if nobody else is about, they can go back to that to make sure that they're doing the process correctly.
I suppose a little bit like the 3 to 5 club. I know you're a member of that. Do you want to?
Yeah.
We can talk about that now, or shall we talk about it later? About having your.
So we don't have any software to manage that, but I'd be very intrigued to find out more about that, Manuel. That sounds really, really good, because what I'm doing at the minute is I'm recording videos on WhatsApp. I recorded a video actually on the way down, thanking the guys for their effort yesterday. We were managed to be successful in a tender process yesterday for one of the big housing associations here to deliver their ventilation requirements for the next 2 years. We went then last night and delivered a great presentation at the LANI event, Landlords Association Northern Ireland, and basically proved to them that we are the guys to come to, and that they need to seek an alternative rather than just throwing in a poor extract fan fitted by the gardener up the street because they thought he knew about it. No disrespect to gardeners.
I was going to say,
No, you're grand.
Is that a little dig?
So it would be, and Loom. I use Loom. If you've ever heard of Loom for making videos and stuff,
Right.
you know,
No.
if I'm showing somebody on the screen, I can hit record on Loom. And again, then feeding into the 3 to 5 club, it was only some of my contacts through the 3 to 5 club. I think it was Johnny had told me about the Loom videos.
I know you're a big 3 to 5 club
advocate.
Do you want to tell the viewers exactly what that is and how that's helped your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I fell by the 3 to 5 club by chance, I suppose. We were buying a product and there was a guy associated with that product that was running the 3 to 5 club here in Ireland. So the 3 to 5 club was the mastermind of a great guy, Chuck Blakeman, who's an American entrepreneur, I suppose. He has 13 successful businesses in his past, won all sorts of awards, wrote a book called Making Money is Killing Your Business. Have you read it?
Nope.
It's absolutely unbelievable. It can be a bit frustrating because it's a bit of a workbook and you have to keep go back to this chapter, go there and stuff. But persevere with it because it's really, really good. And the idea, I suppose, Chuck's mastermind in this is to get every business owner with a 2-page strategic plan. Your vision, your mission, where you're going, what you need to do today to get to your lifetime goals, basically. And then your lifetime goal, your business maturity date. So business maturity date can mean whatever you want it to mean. To me, business maturity date is having a business that's totally self-sufficient and self-sustainable, that you can go and enjoy the time and money that you...
Because a lot of people just work and then die.
Exactly. And they say that, I can't remember who it was that said it, but when you're young, you've all the energy, you've all the time, but you've no money. When you're middle-aged and running a business, you've the energy, the money, but no time. And then when you retire, you have the money and the time, but no energy.
Yeah.
So it's important to focus upon that. And a lot of business owners run their time because they've no succession plan in place. Like there's plumbers and joiners and really, really good plumbers and joiners down near us that have very, very successful businesses. I was speaking to a guy the other day, a kitchen guy, and I was just thinking there's no succession plan there. These are unique businesses with no... So once that person either gets fed up because they're spending all their time at this business and not able to talk about being on the business treadmill.
Yeah,
basically.
And if you can't sell it on either, if you can't, yeah,
absolutely, because you are the business basically. So you're not going to sell yourself unless you're on the streets of Amsterdam.
I don't think anybody would sign up to it. I can't pay one of those very specialty windows.
Yeah, so the 3 to 5 Club I find extremely refreshing with great guys. Henry McCrory as very well.
I'm going to say Henry's been very good to me over the years.
Yeah, so John Heenan, Henry McCrory, two massive influences on my life. The way I would describe the local 3 to 5 Club would be like a counselling service for business owners. So if you
it can be lonely and challenging running your own
If you
business.
have problems with your business, who do you speak to? You can't speak to your employees who you're with because you might unnerve them or you might scare them with some of the ideas.
Jason's a bit of an agony on the time.
Yeah, you can't speak to your wife or if you're a lady, a husband or whatever goes these days because you're coming home. It's not fair. Maybe they've had the kids all day. They're handing you the kids as you go in the door. So the challenges that we have, it's good to go and speak to like-minded people who maybe understand and maybe within the meetings, within the 3 to 5 meetings, they're giving you wee tips, help, advice and the teachings within it. Every business is the exact same and it follows the same sort of structure and the same sort of elements, and it's just putting them all together in a regimented way, I suppose, and staying focused and staying determined to get you where you want to be.
The other thing as well is meeting people that are a couple of steps ahead of you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how am I going to get there? Back to your vision, how am I going to get there?
Absolutely, definitely.
We recently talked to a hypnotist, and he came in and gave us advice, and he was all about, like, you need to see yourself where you want to be before you can know how to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Visioneering. Very, very, very much so within the personal development field. And go even further than that and understand and see yourself in that and absorb all the senses. Smell, if it's by the sea, smell the sea air and that, all that type of thing. It's all part and big part of it.
Just on the sea, I know you're a big fitness fan and swimming, and we usually talk about this towards the end of the podcast, but I think as well, while we're talking about mindfulness, it's important to talk about keeping yourself fit if you're looking to expand or run your business.
Listen, in my opinion, your mind is absolutely everything. And again, when you're running a business, the people see a negative mindset is very, very quickly caught on to. If you have a negative mindset running a business, everyone in the business will run with a negative mindset. So it's absolutely paramount. I wouldn't just go as far as the swimming. I take the kids swimming, but that's basically the furthest I would go. But I'm in the gym at 6 o'clock every single morning. I registered to perform at a high rocks competition here in a couple of weeks' time, so I'm doing a bit of running in preparation to it. But I find that as my big release. Like, people would go and meditate, and I honestly try to meditate as often as I can. Also, I go and I have, but basically the gym is my meditation. It's my form of release and
just
going
time out, no work.
And it's only half an hour, 40 minutes work, but I give it everything in that half hour, 40 minutes. So it's just a complete release, and it's scientifically proven to do whatever it does to your mind. Supplements, I take lion's mane and ashwagandha, which helps your cognitive abilities, I do believe. Again, I'm no expert. I know it works for me, these things. I'm focused on, like people say, tell me what you're reading and tell me the company that you keep and I'll tell you where you'll be from 5 years from now. So what you're putting into your mind, I personally don't watch the news. I don't. If the news comes on the radio, I'm switching it off.
I used to always watch the news myself, but you've absolutely no control over what happens or if you watch it.
Absolutely.
Very rarely you see good news these days. It's always there's never anything positive, or it's people having digs at other people. It's
doom and gloom.
Yeah.
I went into the house and my mummy said, "What about all those fires in California or whatever?" I didn't know. I said, "Mummy, I don't know what you're talking about." She says, "You've not been watching the news." I just don't. I just switch it off. In fact, during my day I'm driving about and I'm just absorbing it within my own thoughts. I'm just gathering.
Are you a big reader? Do you read many books?
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't in the past, but now I do. It's all business orientated books or motivational books. I'm reading 2 books at the minute. I'm reading one that Henry told me I had to get on audio, so I'm doing it. It was my first audio listening book. So
and what's that?
In Traction, very, very good. You would actually think that it's been written by somebody who's come in and looked at our business, the way our business is sitting just at this moment in time. So it's fantastic. But I'm also reading Self-Made in America by John McCormack, which was again a referral by John in the 3 to 5 Club. And I'm finding it unbelievable as far as determination, perseveration, things that you really need to
keep driving
because Again, it's not easy running a business sometimes. Sometimes you need to go home, dust yourself down, and have the determination to get up and give it your all the following day. And that's just, and once you get into that habit and regime, it just becomes second nature.
And what platforms do you listen to your audiobooks on? The Spotify?
Well, this is the first one that
Apple?
this is the first one that I've done. So it's ebooks on Apple that have.
I'm going to give a wee shout out if you're watching the video now or you're listening to it on a podcast channel. Make sure to smash the like button.
Yeah, give us some comments in the bottom as well.
Give some comments, or if you're on Spotify, make sure to give us Spotify or Apple. Give us a wee review as well, because that really, really helps the channel out.
Did you have any sales experience, or what experience did you have before buying into this company?
Yeah, so I suppose in my working career, I always wanted to go for the next sort of big thing that would make me the most money as quick as possible, and I didn't finish my school the way I probably would have wanted to, because exams and stuff wasn't for me. So I went and started working in a warehouse at a young age, which helped me with my organisational skills and the distribution skills that I now possess within the business. I worked for a great company back then. They were called Source Supplies, and I worked my way up in that business up to like an operations assistant warehouse manager. I think I was assistant warehouse manager. They were an IIP benchmark company, so you've seen different processes and procedures put in place firsthand. So that's probably why I'm so process driven in what we do. My first sales role came then when I had the opportunity to work for a little company a very successful company based in Oma. So I had to drive up to Oma every Friday. They were called Community Directories Northern Ireland. So they produced a wee A5 phone book. I don't remember what the one was called in this area, but they would have had different localised books. So Lagan Valley and the Coil would have been, Newry and Mourne would have been the ones I would have been focusing on. So you were calling into businesses, like I would have called in here and tried to sell you a wee advert of whatever it would have been. That gave me a fantastic foundation in sales, because you would have gone in and people were like quite ignorant because they'd maybe had a bad experience with this company and they were basically making you pay for it. I went into Portadown and did one of the shops in Portadown one day. I'll never forget it. The guy had left me standing there for about an hour purposely, and then he came out and used a few expletives and told me to go back up the road and tell my boss never to send anyone into this shop again. And again, you have to dust yourself down and get out and get the next opportunity and move forward. Again, negative into a positive. It taught me so much. When I pull back to that story many a time,
I take it you didn't talk him round, no?
Not at that stage. Now I probably would try, but not at that stage. But it gives you, listen, it gives you, you have to do the hard miles, as they say, in anything, to fully understand what it takes to get to the next level.
It sounds like from when you left school, from whatever job you've gone into, you've always had the drive to progress onto the next. You've had the drive to push yourself forward.
Yeah, listen, absolutely. I'm a very, very driven person in everything I do. I'm a very competitive person. I need to get the reins on sometimes. I do push as much and as hard as I can. Probably.
And did that help with the going into buying the business and becoming the leader/director sort of role?
Yeah, absolutely. So back when I get into the business initially, as I say, I had to take the leap of faith. I suppose it was a risk back then. And I suppose when I'd built the business up to basically what it is now. It was basically myself.
Yeah.
My old business partner, Paddy, he would say the exact same. And he did throughout all the negotiations. He always says, Hugh, this is your business. Whatever we do here is completely up to yourself. But again, it was a big risk. And when he floated the idea of wanting to get out of the business or exit the business, he had wanted to sell to different people and stuff. And that was okay to him because it's like selling that cup. To me, it wasn't. To me, to me, it's my absolute life. And it's not only me that I'm taking into consideration. It's people who have been there with me. Like if my work wife, as some people refer to her as, Rhoda, my right-hand woman in the business. It's where would she be if we had sold out to somebody and maybe that company are coming in and keeping me on or whatever. It might have been very attractive to me at the time, but I had to take into all these considerations, and morally I wouldn't do something that I didn't wholeheartedly feel was the right decision for
the staff as well.
Yeah, absolutely, very, very much.
It sounds of it when you went into the business, you went in as sort of a partnership, and then did you end up buying your partner out?
Yes.
And how was that funded?
Yes. So first of all, it was to try and agree on a rate that I suppose he was happy and content to take, and I was happy and content to pass over, which can be two drastically different figures. So,
especially if you've put in the groundwork to start with.
absolutely, because in my mind, like, I've built it up. I could close it down tomorrow and start up again and gradually build it back up to what it was. You're paying money out for nothing, basically. But with the integrity that I have, he did have it going. Like, we're 30 years in business this year, 1995. He had started it up in its infancy, so we're 30 years in business. So I had a due common respect for him. I felt that I had to produce some form of and I didn't have it in my back pocket, unfortunately. So I did have to go to different sources. Banks, obviously, were one source. I'm thankful and lucky, I suppose, that we had the banks offering. With Ulster Bank and Bank of Ireland, I do believe, locally offering different.
Were they providers that you used for your banking services?
Yes, we were banking with those guys at that time, and our credit seems to be fairly good. So all sorts of people offering money at that point. I went down the road of remortgaging the house because it's still on a good rate. So I remortgaged the house to find most of the money. There was still a shortfall, so I went to friends, family, anyone that I thought maybe had a few pounds sitting. And in fact, you do get, when you're in that situation, you get your eyes opened. Some of the people I had gone to weren't forthcoming, when unfortunately it has soured some of the relationships since then. Definitely wasn't the intention. Maybe it was my approach. I don't know, but I don't think the baseball bat went down too well. No, you definitely get your eyes open to certain things. And again, my father-in-law at the time, Mark Kent, came and lent me, and if I had asked him for whatever, I don't know how far he would have stretched, but he came good for me in the end, and then I paid it back to him as quick as I possibly could, then, in good faith also.
So the buying was like an initial lump sum out, it wasn't spread over a period,
it was just clean cut. Yeah. Just a clean cut initial lump sum out. I did look at different things, because when you're in a partnership with somebody, it's like sometimes jumping off a cliff with your hands tied behind your back or something, trying to swim with your hands tied behind your back. You have to go back to sign in for banks with dual users, and we have discovered that seriously challenging over the last year. That is one piece of advice I suppose I would be looking to give to somebody who would be in my position in the future.
What's that?
Is make sure you have all that ironed out. Make sure you have all those things properly ironed out before that other person exits the business, because it had just delayed things.
Have a plan in place. Make sure to plan for it.
And definitely the banking, many of the legalities, I suppose, and the banking. So part of the buyout, I was going to try and withhold 10% or whatever the case would have been, just until those things were ironed out. He convinced me just to pay it up and get a clean cut and move on. And I suppose in some ways that's positive as well. But I don't even know if some of our online banking passwords have been sorted out to this day. And we're now 14 months down the line, or 13 months down the line, whatever it would be. So that would be definitely advice I would give to somebody.
Start planning early. And would you include the business partner in that, or would that be something you would just do on your own if you were thinking about? I suppose it's a sort of joint conversation. It'd be a joint conversation. It would be something you would have to really just game out yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It would definitely have to be a joint conversation, but it would, I suppose, have to be part of your plan and your vision. And I suppose looking back, what I could have maybe done was put myself a year forward. You should always make decisions of where you want to be rather than where you've came from, I suppose. And I'll go back to that in a minute. But if I had to put myself a year forward and said, right, what does this look like? And basically went through a working day in a year's time and did the online banking and signed into this and signed into that and jumped into email accounts and foreseeing if this old number rings, where does it go to, and different things like that. If you try and have a bit of a vision of how that looks like, and then strip it back and put things into place that will ensure a smoother transition, I suppose.
On that note, do you think you would, have you ever bought over another business? Would you think about buying over smaller competitors?
I haven't really given it much thought, to be honest. We have been fit to the pedal, hell for leather in the last.
No, there's no need. There's no need.
There's no. if anything, we would be developing the business from within rather than buying over. But that's not to say in the future that if the right opportunity came along, I wouldn't be looking at something. Again, it goes back to mindset. People say I was lucky to do this and I was lucky to do that. Certainly, I was lucky at that stage to get into condensation solutions, but I needed to have the right mindset to make the decision, to make the leap of faith.
The harder you work as well, the luckier you get.
Absolutely, absolutely. You do make your own luck, but you need to be in the right mindset to make use of that opportunity when it does come along. And again, going back to what I said originally, I had all sorts of ideas. Like I was going to open a gym in Saintfield at one stage, and coffee shops, and high-end second-hand clothes shops and things that I was planning and thinking about, but never really made the next step and pushed on. And that's because I wasn't in the right frame of mind.
I think as well, because it does come up an awful lot on the small business mindset that you can't move away from. Just, you've obviously done it, you've pushed through. I can't do that, or I couldn't grow that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that takes a lot of courage and determination. And again, I can't stress enough surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And I suppose you need to be careful on the other side. Like, a lot of people will be there to try and the greed would come into it a wee bit, and people are there maybe to try and fleece you in some certain instances. So you need to look for genuine people. I feel that I'm fortunate enough that I would be quite a good judge of character. In the gym circles, like in the healthier circles, tend to be positive people wanting to better their lives. The 3 to 5 club, absolutely. Business owners wanting to make themselves better, but not in a sort of competitive way. They're trying to lift everyone up. Is it a rising tide lifts all ships? That sort of a thing, bring everyone up. And it's the same as what I say about our staff members. If I help them achieve their goals and help them do what they want to do in life, then they're more inclined to come and give everything they have to Condensation Solutions to make it work. So it's a two-way process.
And what systems did you put in place while you were buying over the business to make sure that the ship didn't sink?
Not enough, I suppose.
And what would you do? What would you do if your younger self, or if you were to advise somebody, what would you say to do? Is there any things that you could have done better whenever you were buying over the business?
I suppose maybe go and do a bit more research, as into, like, for example, we had some key members of staff left fairly quickly after Paddy had exited. So it put a lot of strain on the business technically, because I was the most experienced point of contact on a technical basis. So I was just being saturated constantly with that. So I would maybe go and look maybe statistically on what happens whenever there is a buyout in a partnership. Do a bit more research into, because again, the history is there of these things happening, and it's a proven fact that when a business owner
changes or leaves,
yeah, there is like a mass exodus or a little bit of an exodus. Your staff maybe seen that business owner as the good cop maybe, or whatever, and liked his way of management and his structure, and then left the exit door. So it did leave us under a bit of pressure as far as the business, because all that experience going at the same time just put a little bit of pressure on. But again, then that gives you the positive side, where you can refresh and bring in people that are more suited to different roles. And again, going back to the book that I'd mentioned earlier, in Traction, it speaks a little bit in the opening chapters about getting the values of your business, hiring people with the values of your business in mind, and don't get into, because I could have fallen into desperation at certain times. Right throughout my time in Condensation Solutions, you can fall into a bit of desperation. You have 100 jobs on and you're only getting 50 of them done. How do we get the other 50? And just pull in any person, and it has happened.
On that basis, how do you find the recruitment of staff? Do you have many challenges recruiting the right staff? Have you any different ways than just like advertising the work? What's your sort of recruitment process look like?
Yeah, so I think the challenges of recruiting staff is like a worldwide problem at the minute. But we have been very successful recently. And people always blame like external influences, I suppose. Sometimes you need to look at your own ethos as far as a business is concerned, to make sure when you do bring in high quality staff, you can make sure you have a process to retain them longer and that type of thing. But generally, we would go out on different platforms. We'd post jobs on LinkedIn, which has been successful. Facebook wasn't just so successful because I think it closed it maybe down geographically. And again, we're in Castlewell, which isn't the metropolis. So you're closing down your reach for people. Recruitment agencies, again, contacting the 3 to 5 Club. Michael O'Kane has been very helpful in recruiting some people for me. And again, there's a fantastic thing that the 3 to 5 Club brings you. It brings you access to different people in different businesses, and not just the sort of mindset, business coaching, counselling service that it gives me also. But yeah, listen, staff is a major issue worldwide. We're not the only ones suffering, but again, we've been thankful that we've got some really good staff members just in the last year. When we look back at photographs of probably Paddy's leave and do and our Christmas party at the go-karts in Newry in December last year, there was like 7 people or whatever, 8 people possibly standing on the podium at the end. There's now 21 people. We've moved into new offices. Unfortunately, the go-kart place in Newry burnt down since as well. So things move forward, things change, and you have to be...
What did you do for your Christmas party this year then? No go-karting?
Oh, we've too many staff members now. We didn't have a Christmas party. No.
We'll have to edit that bit out.
No, absolutely. I brought everyone down the Burndale, so we had a local thing, so we thought we'd do a more sort of intimate local thing, so I brought everyone down to the Burndale. I booked a Airbnb house, 4-bedroom, 6-bedroom house, not too far away from me, in between me and the Burndale, to put people up that were far away. I put others up in the Burndale. We had our dinner at the Burndale. There was a wee quiz on. I even ended up in the hot tub at the house. I stayed up in the house and they ended up in the hot tub. I don't drink anymore. I've given that up, which is part of my mindset journey, I suppose. But I was the driver and the facilitator after, getting people home and that type of thing. So with a quiz, and then we did a wee bit of a company meeting and a development day the following day. And then conscious that when I was drinking, people might have been a little bit tender the following day.
I was going to say the following day after work too. That's
whenever they fell asleep during my presentation, I just sent them home. So I give everyone the day off on the Friday as a wee benefit and a wee incentive.
We went to the Christmas market this year.
Yeah.
Horrible. In fact, when you say about the Christmas market, I was in, and partly to do with getting your banking, I suppose, ironed out. I was in the Bank of Ireland, the building just behind the City Hall, and we were looking out down onto the Christmas market. Brona and I were in a meeting with the lady just trying to finally solve this online banking and the access codes and different things. And I was looking down and it did start to snow, so it was lovely and Christmas.
You didn't go down for an alligator burger or
No, definitely not. When you're eating an alligator burger in the centre of Belfast, it's time to start worrying, I think.
Going back a little bit, because you were already in the business that you were buying into, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
How much warning, or did you let the staff know that was happening, and did you give them much notice before everything went through?
To be honest, the communication, and that is again something that you ask, what advice would I give to people in the same sort of position? Communication would be absolutely and utterly top of their agenda. Something we haven't been strong on in a business. It's something we weren't fantastically strong on back then, I suppose. And just as you get into busy, it's something you do as a business owner, lose a bit of track of. I've restructured the business recently, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But the communication wasn't fantastic at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
But it does need to be communicated right down. I suppose it happened in the mouth of Christmas and just different things. The staff did know what was going on. We did keep them up to date. We probably could have done it a little bit better.
Staff don't want to worry about their jobs and...
Yeah, absolutely. I have reassured everyone through my whole time at Condensation Solutions. And again, if you just do the things that should be done, I suppose, and think on a commercial basis within it. And again, I don't mean that a greedy commercial basis. I mean that in a commercial viability, that you aren't calling the houses. And
how soon would you tell the staff before those papers are signed on the dotted line?
Again, it's a fine line, because if you're doing it and it hasn't happened, and with a couple of sort of false dawns, one of the manufacturers we deal with were were toying with the idea of buying us at one stage. Like, again, there would have been an awful lot of negotiating in on that. And then in the end, it happened fairly quickly. So I don't think I told them until after the event and when we announced it at the time. And I think there was a little element of shock. I suppose in our position, we were fairly unique or different, that I was the one that was there every day running it. I think I said to one of the guys who had just came in recently, by the way, I've bought Paddy out, and on a passing comment, I've bought Paddy out, and he said, "Who's Paddy?" So Paddy wasn't there every day. It was a little bit different in our scenario.
So maybe a lot of staff, nothing really changed for them.
Absolutely, yeah. Most
things just carried on
most definitely. But communication is something that definitely needs to be given a priority, especially when you start growing as a business. And again, it's something we've restructured. I've brought my ex-wife into the business now as human resources and communications director. So she looks after all those types of things. She's from a counselling background, so she would be more
hands-on.
Yeah, and more sort of thinking of how other people are thinking rather than me get the job done sort of thinking. And it seems to be working really, really well, because if I'm taking some of the guys, and some of the guys have started playing golf with us, one guy in particular who's struggled through time, he started playing golf and really gets a good thing. So we'll go out on a Sunday and have a round of golf. But then I'm texting through the next morning, why did you leave that line there? Or why did you not get this done? So me doing everything and communicating everything and trying to be your friend one day and trying to
be your boss the next.
It's challenging. But as I realise, I have really good people around me. I don't need to be getting involved in those. I had a conversation with somebody just in the past couple of days and said, listen, I'll come to that meeting, but if you see the point where I don't need to be at a certain meeting, just tell me. And the best thing that people can say to me now is, Hugh,
off you go.
P.O.
Disappear. Let's carry on.
Absolutely.
Jason and I have a relationship like that. What other systems, or how much stuff do you do in-house and how much stuff do you farm out? Do you do your HR in-house? Your bookkeeping and accounts, is that farmed out? Is there any other? Your health and safety?
Yeah, so we'll go outside for our health and safety. And again, we're just trying to find our feet really within it now, and the best supplier for things like that. We try not to farm out a terrible amount of stuff. I try to do everything in-house as much as possible. Bookkeeping's done internally. The accountant we bring in to sign off. We do our payroll ourselves. We try to do most things, maybe too much. Maybe we do need to look at farming other things out. But no, we try to keep everything internally. Subcontracting out work, I don't do. I had a bad experience in the past in subcontracting out work, so I don't go down that road. Core drilling holes, nobody in our place wants to do it. They probably don't have the right equipment to do it, so we would maybe farm a little bit of it out. But then again, it's communication and it's making sure that the hole's drilled in the right place, because obviously that can cause a bit of an issue. Maybe it's something as a business we possibly do need to look at going forward, is what other services. And there's something to be said for it again. The service John Heenan provides in TDS, where you hold all your stock in a satellite area, and you necessarily don't need to certainly see it. We need to see our stock because some of it's so unique. But there are certain items that we do have that we could maybe use on that basis. So I suppose it's about being open-minded and seeing what suits your business needs the best, and then
just going with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, thank you very much.
No problem whatsoever.
Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate
Thank you.
the time.
Good man.
Perfect.
Very good. Covered a lot of bases there, I think.
Yeah, it was good.